Welcome to the In Search of More podcast. I am your host, Eli Nash. Join me weekly on my quest for more from myself and more from this world. We'll see you on the other side. All right, welcome, Kaley.
Thank you. Thanks, Eli. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thanks for coming. I'm sitting here with Kaley Z, a illness recovery coach.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you deal with people primarily with chronic illness.
Yep.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. And that, like many people who get into this line of work, comes from personal experience.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll start there. Tell us about your story and what you overcame before you decided to share the gift with others.
Yeah, sure. I was diagnosed with MS when I was 12.
MS is?
MS is multiple sclerosis. And for those who don't know, there are many different types of MS. The type I was diagnosed with is called relapsing remitting, which means you can go into remission. Not in the sense, when we hear remission, I think a lot of people think cancer, like, okay, you're good, you're clear. So it's just times of remission, and then there can be a relapse. And a relapse is usually an onset of several symptoms at once, and that can be pretty extreme. And what's happening is the immune system is attacking the nervous system. It's attacking the nerves in the brain and the spinal cord. And our brain is the computer of the body, right? So anything can happen. And growing up, really anything did happen. I've been paralyzed. I've been blind in one eye.
Wow.
And like, you just never know, when's the day going to come when you wake up and you're okay again. And once you're okay again, right, in quote unquote remission, how okay are you? Do you go back 100%? You never sort of know, what that remission is going to look like when someone's living with MS. So yeah, that's sort of where my journey began. And not just my journey to, becoming a coach, actually just my journey of self, my awareness of life. I don't really have a lot of memories from before that, actually.
Oh, I got it. That makes a lot of sense. So how long did that last, and at what point, where are you today with it?
Today, I'm completely disease-free, thank God.
What's the difference between remission and disease-free?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I get that question all the time. So I'm pretty like at peace with like, okay, maybe it's remission. I'm good with that, But there's a category that is used in the MS world by neurologists called no evidence of disease activity. And they basically look and see, is there a 10-year span without physical symptoms, meaning clinical presentation of the disease, and then also radiological presentation of the disease. So they're looking at MRI. And I had 10 years without either, according to their terms, meaning, did I have days where I had pain? Yes, absolutely. Did I have days where it was hard to walk? Days where I was weak and I couldn't open a bag? Yep. But it was never extreme enough for 10 years, extreme enough or enough symptoms at once that it ticked that box where they go, okay, she's in a relapse right now. So it's a very, very rare thing, but my neurologist at the time, who was in Israel, kind of assessed everything and said, yeah, you fit into this category now. So that's why I look at it as disease-free.
Got it. Understood.
From that perspective, and then within myself, I just know it. I just know that I'm disease-free. I know that. I don't know how else to put it.
Yeah, good enough. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in LA.
Got it. Cool.
Yeah.
So you said at what age did these symptoms?
12. I was 12.
12.
Yeah.
So prior to that, healthy, normal?
Totally, completely healthy. It just really out of left field. And a lot of times people with MS will have MS in the family. We don't have anyone in our family.
That
so
you know
I
of.
was the first. Yeah.
Got it. And
hopefully the last.
What did the symptoms first present as?
I woke up one morning. It was actually on the Jewish holiday of Sukkot. So that's how I can actually remember the day when it was the first day of the holiday. I was staying with a friend. I was so excited. It was a sleepover. We slept in the sukkah outside. When I woke up, the symptoms I was experiencing, is something called nystagmus, where your eyes jump rapidly right to left. Not your eyes.
Right.
Someone's eyes jump rapidly right to left. So the whole world looked like it was spinning. And I literally can still remember my friend's living room. We obviously became very close. Like, that was a huge bonding experience, you know? I remember that living room and looking up at her ceiling. And the living room was like an octagon, so just to make matters worse, you know? So I was sitting there looking at the ceiling and it was just like going in circles. Obviously, I was like extremely sick to my stomach. This was after I finally found my way inside the house. And so that's nystagmus. And then, and I had tingling in my feet, as if like ants were crawling all over my feet. And over the next few weeks, that moved all the way up my legs. It was very awkward to walk. It was hard to walk. I didn't have a lot of balance. So that morning, when you said, like, how did it start? That morning when I woke up, I woke up, I didn't use the restroom. No one else was awake. I went to get out of bed. I couldn't really figure it out. Couldn't figure out how to get out of the bed. So I dropped to my knees and I crawled, and I really couldn't make it very far. And I just sat next to a trash can and was, because I was extremely nauseous with the world spinning, and I just sat there throwing up until someone else woke up. So that's how it all started.
Got it. Understood.
Yeah.
So normally when someone is hit with a illness, the focus is on, physical symptoms, physical doctors, like all of that world.
Yes.
I'm sure that was the same with.
Oh,
with you.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I saw dozens of specialists. Of course, I was 12, and MS now, there's pediatric MS centers. Back then, it was insane for a child to have MS. No one wanted to say it. Even though the onset was so classic, nobody wanted to say MS. They also didn't have medication. Like, what were they going to say? Like, here, they didn't want to give a diagnosis and then also not have intervention. The interventions that were available had not ever been used with a minor before. No one knew what was safe. So for 3 months, it was a medical nightmare. I don't like, and you never know, like, I didn't know, is it a tumor? Am I dying? Like, just, and really all I wanted was an answer. And people would always say, it's like, it was so obnoxious. It's like every time they would see me or my parents, like any updates, what's going on? I mean, they knew I was sick. You could see it.
Yeah.
I always needed help. It's like, okay, no news is good news. Like, no, you're in the dark. No news is not good news. That's terrifying,
Right.
So it was a really, really, really intense 3 months. So interestingly, diagnosis was like, it was the greatest relief. Like, it was just a huge relief. I think the only relief that was greater than that was being told that my diagnosis was changed, to no evidence of disease activity. But I didn't even know that was an option.
Right.
So the level of relief, that's also a day I'll never forget. And I remember I was diagnosed at UCLA. I remember sitting with Dr. Myers, and he was so kind and so caring. And I had seen so many doctors who, they didn't give me the time of the day. I'm a kid. They're talking to my parents. My parents would just say, like, you don't know my child. Like, she's going to make all the decisions. Just talk to her, And it was very hard. And we don't realize this a lot. Like, it can be so scary to go through a medical process, to go through a diagnosis, but especially for a child. Especially, it's like, what are all the adults are just going to make the decisions for you? It's your body. You don't know what's going on. People don't take the time to explain to you. And so I am really grateful that at least my parents were able to acknowledge that like, no, you do have to talk to her. I mean, she's right. Like,
Right.
I would say, like, talk to me, and they'd be like, she's right, talk to her, And he was wonderful, and he sat with me. It was like time stopped, which we don't get with doctors. Most doctors are just like, they're quick with you. They go. He was so, I just remember that compassion so much that he took with me. He explained what MS is. He answered, I had so many questions. He answered all of my questions. And I really can't tell you, I have no idea how long I sat there with him. And then I remember leaving the office felt like the world outside that office felt like I was walking in fog. Like in my memory, and that wasn't like a visual symptom, right? Like,
Right.
it was like everything had this like white haze around it. It was just haze. And just this like weird awareness of, okay, everything's different now. Everything's
And this was
different
3 months after the incident at your friend's house over
now.
Sukkot.
Yeah.
Got it.
And it was mixed. It was a mixed bag. Again, like I said, relief and like, okay. And I'm such a doer all the time. I'm not a doer. I'm a human being. I'm not a doer. But I'll say I can be very action oriented. And I was very motivated to let's figure out the treatment. Let's take the next steps. And also I was processing, what does this mean for my future? You know, what are the options? What aren't the options anymore? Like what happens next? So it was a very
Future tripping.
Yeah, life altering moment for sure. Yeah.
Got it. So continue on that process until it eventually turned kind of inward. Because my understanding as a illness recovery coach, you're not dealing with the medical side of things. You're dealing with the emotions that are beneath that.
Yeah.
So which means at some point in time that happened in your own journey.
Yeah.
Where you said, okay, the neurologists are great. I'm going to talk to them, but I'm also going to look inward at what may be creating the conditions for this disease.
Yeah. So I grew up, throughout middle school and high school, pretty limited. There were great days. There were really, really tough days. And some part of me always believed that healing was possible. And I on the one hand, I could say, I don't know why I didn't do it sooner, because I knew it was available. On the other hand, I could say it's hard work, and I was a teenager, and if I did have any extra energy or space as a teenager, I just wanted to be a teenager, you know?
So the way it was communicated to you was that this is a lifelong
chronic illness, yeah. That sense of healing is possible was just an inner knowing. It was an inner awareness as a child that like the sense that like the body that creates human life surely has a mechanism for healing. But I didn't know what to do about that. Like I was a kid, you know? So, and interestingly, I took on the identity of the disease. So I started to realize that, there were a few events that kind of led to this, but I started to see that the experience I was having was impacting those around me. I started to live my life completely differently. I didn't take anything for granted. Are you kidding? Like the days I could see, was like, I wanted to see everything. The days I could walk, I wanted to do everything, you know? And by the way, that's the challenge of anybody living with autoimmune disease is like, now all of a sudden you're feeling well, you go try to conquer the world and you're back in bed. So because you pushed it, right? So it's like, it can be very, very frustrating experience. So that was many, many years of my life. And actually almost half my life. So it's interesting because I talk about this so much, and there's something called narrative therapy. Narrative therapy posits that the more you tell a story, it distances from you.
Right.
And for the longest time, that was true. As a kid, I became a public speaker. I saw, like I said, I was saying that I started to see that others were also more grateful for their abilities. Right. I took more
others.
Other people were starting to become
around
more grateful.
You.
Yeah, others around me.
Yes.
Sorry. So others around me were also becoming more grateful and pausing. And even my friends, kids in middle school were living their lives differently. Families around us were interacting differently. And they told us that. They were open with us about that. Like just watching how you guys are interacting. I'm being more present with my kids, right? Like people were saying that and sharing that. There was something happening in the community around me through this journey. And so I started to talk about it. I felt immediately, even before the diagnosis, I'm just going to back up for a second. For the first 60 days, right? 30 days was 3 months was the process of diagnosis. For the first 60 days, I did not open my eyes.
The first 60 days after diagnosis?
During the process. From that first day at my friend's house, I didn't open my eyes. For the first 30 days, I had nystagmus. If I opened my eyes, I was going to throw up. So I just kept them closed. And then one day I woke up and that changed and I was seeing double. It's also not so fun. So I kept my eyes closed. For 60 days, I stayed at home in bed, being taken care of, being showered, being bathed, like everything. And I kept my eyes closed. You have a lot of downtime. There weren't like audiobooks. I mean, on like cassettes, but that's not like easy to manage when you can't see, right? Someone had to do everything for me. So, and there wasn't YouTube. So I had a lot of quiet. And in that time, that's when I first started talking to God. That is, I didn't grow up observant. We definitely grew up where God was a conversation, right? When things came up, we said, okay, he's going to take care of things. There was a lot of trust and faith in our home. But it wasn't, there wasn't day-to-day involvement, I would say.
Right.
That's when I started talking to God. And so this awareness kind of came through that this is happening for a reason. And I'm going to know the reason. I didn't know when that moment would come, but I knew there's got to be a reason. And I kept thinking to myself, it's not random. It's not random that it's me and not a friend of mine. It's not random that it's not another kid in the class. It's me. There's a reason that's happening, right? So I was already trying to look for that. I was already looking for the meaning in it. And so when I started to see other people's lives change around me, I went, oh, okay, maybe that's part of it. Maybe that's why this is happening. I should start sharing my experience. I should talk about this. If I talk about this, then people will know even more so how lucky they are to walk, how lucky they are to see, how lucky they are to speak, right?
So what age did you become a public speaker?
13. It's a trip because, so what I was saying about narrative therapy is you distance yourself. Now when I talk about it, it hits me again. Like it got I got so far away from it for so long because I got so used to talking about it. And since being healthy, and I think especially since becoming a mom, I feel it again. And I don't have the same distance. Like it becomes very real again, if that makes any sense.
Well, the first part certainly makes sense because I've shared part of my story a lot over and over, and for a number of times, for years I was sharing. From 2014, 15, 16, I gave essentially the same talk.
Right.
Tens of times. Or some variation of it, but it was a certain aspect of my story. And
it's part of the healing, in a sense.
At first, I was very connected to it. And then with each one, eventually I began quoting myself, so to speak. There's just some distance gets caught between it. So that I understand. In terms of the reconnection, the words make sense to me. I haven't experienced it, but the words make sense to me. Just reconnecting to the experience. And I can feel that as well. Question. So I'm just trying to get a sense of the timeline. So when you started talking at 13, no, it's good. I'm just trying to understand it well. So when you were 13, you were still quite sick.
Yeah.
But so you were speaking, just saying, "Hey, I have good days and bad days," and
I would.
I can share something with you that can make your days more meaningful.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would take people through it and kind of take them through a day, help them imagine what that's like, what it's like to. You can't button your shirt because your fingers aren't working that day. Okay, so you decide we're going to stop buying things with zippers and buttons. Try to really make that
real.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, so keep going through the story. You mentioned that as a teenager you weren't ready to fully dive in. So when did you dive into the deeper aspects of this?
In my 20s. Illness? In my 20s, I made Aliyah.
So through all this time, you were
living with active disease. Yeah, I was living with active disease. I was speaking, and I also had a nonprofit called Youth Against MS. We were doing a lot of fundraising towards research and supporting people.
Youth Against MS.
Yeah.
Oh. When you said it, like Youth Against MS,
You heard MS.
Yes.
Yeah, only once I became more observant did I when I went to seminary, it was like the funniest joke because I'm Sephardi, right? So I hear the Hebrew Israeli pronunciation. Like, why do they keep saying MS? Like, what are they talking about? I didn't get it, and finally, like, a friend of mine had to say it's like emet, truth. I was like, No idea. I was so
Right.
lost.
It's like youth against truth. Right?
Yeah. Youth
That's
against
where-
MS. So I was very, very busy, and that very, very busy also kept me pretty sick. And I really had justified for the longest time that it was worth it, because I was raising awareness, because people were living their lives in more gratitude and being appreciative of their physical abilities. And it was worth it to be on this mission to inspire others. Like, I convinced myself of that, and I was really sick. And then when I made Aliyah, when I moved to Israel, it's expected with any autoimmune disease that stress aggravates the disease. It's also, by the way, the most ironic experience in the medical world, when they sort of roll their eyes at mind-body connection. But I'm like, but that stress, but all of you are kicking and screaming at me, don't get stressed out. How is that not the mind-body connection? That is the mind-body connection. So, okay, a move to another country is very stressful. So I was very prepared and understood that, it could be serious. So we had, infusion center on call in case I was going to need treatment, whatever. A few days go by, I'm fine. And then one day I woke up and I reach from the bed to grab the bottle of water, and I go to open the bottle, and I can't do it. I can't open it. And I thought to myself, oh, thank God it's just my hands. And my next thought was, it's not okay to think that. Like, that's not a normal way to think. That's not a normal way to think, like, oh, thank God just my hands don't work. Like, why am I relieved by that? And I made the decision in that moment, enough, like, I have to figure this out. It's time to be healthy. Like, I'm done with disease. I made this decision, and I really believe this, and I really want people to hear this. When you come to full conviction in your body, when you just honor this soul knowing and bring all of that yes online, all of the divine power comes to meet you there. And the right guides came. And these were not guides who were like, oh, okay, yes, I've healed this before, I'll work with you. That's not the kind of guides I got. I got guides who helped me find the truth in me and find the path on my own. And that was really profound. So it took a few people, and each one kind of helped me learn a different piece. So one practitioner, Shelley Malka outside of Jerusalem, who's incredible, really, she taught me EFT, emotional freedom technique. She helped me learn, first of all, she helped me to calm down the nervous system. That's massive, right? I always say, you don't sit down in the middle of a burning building and meditate. You run. When your body's on fire, it's very hard to let me get calm and find out what are the emotions here. Your body's on fire. So we had to calm down the nervous system, which it took a long time. It took months to get to the stage that I could even start to kind of piece through what is really going on here. And tapping, EFT, really does that. It calms down the amygdala. And the amygdala is responsible for our fight or flight response. I had been in fight or flight all my life. All my life, not just since diagnosis, since I was a child, since I was a little girl. And I didn't know that. My first session with her was shocking. I had no idea that my nervous system was holding any emotion, let alone so much emotion. We literally had to end the session. I started having a panic attack during the session. That had never happened to me. That's not true. I had a couple panic attacks in college, but I never connected them to, it was like stress. Okay, college stress, right. Disease. Like, there's enough stress in my life, right? This was just sheer amounts of emotion that I had never touched before. And I thought I was a person who was in touch with myself. No, I was wrong. I was completely dissociated. I was totally numb. And of course, then physically numb, right? So in that first session, I ended up on the floor, like physically moving emotions out. And
And when you went to her,
Yeah.
in the hopes of dealing with the MS or just in general to get healthier?
I went to her. Yes, it was complicated. I went to her because I wanted to get better, and someone said, you should really try tapping, and here's a really good practitioner.
Got it. It's popular in Israel.
Tapping is getting very popular in Israel. Yes, but it was really just divine, because even when I first called her, and I remember even telling her this, I'm not even exactly sure like why I'm calling you. I'm just trusting that I'm supposed to be calling you.
Understood.
Right? Does that like kind of help? I never knew I could feel so much and then actually also still be okay. Right? This is something that we don't realize. We can be so scared of our own feelings, and it can be so scary to have the panic attack. But she taught me how I could actually live through it. Right. And she left me in that session, which was in her house, like on the floor. I was finally calm. I was finally relaxed, but I was like, I'm not getting up now. Like that was like, what just happened, right? And she had to go to another session, so she just left me in there, and I took my time. I didn't move for hours. So that's really where the journey began, and it took a full process of about 2 years. After I calmed down the nervous system, it was enough to start to piece apart the symptoms, right? When there's so many symptoms, I can't figure out what my body's saying. So then it was like, okay, the right hand is hurting right now. Let me get in touch with my right hand, and I have many different modalities for using that, for doing that, and let me find out what is my right hand processing. What is it feeling? What emotion is there that I totally skipped over because I'm so used to being dissociated, right?
So what would be an example of a modality that help someone connect with a specific symptom like that?
So tapping is one of them. There's something called emotion code. There's body talk. There's so many different ones. I love that people can have the tools for themselves, right? So one of the things I teach in my course is how to communicate with your own body and get actual answers. A lot of times when someone's living with illness, we kind of have developed, I say we because it's a whole identity. It's a community, and you need that community to survive, right? So we think that like, oh, okay, my body's communicating, I'm listening to it. But I never actually got answers. Guess what? You can get real answers. So I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
There's something called body journaling. And something very popular now in the world of psychology is non-dominant handwriting. And actually, I just spoke to someone who's going to be doing a workshop
at the house
in a couple of weeks. Yeah. So we're friends, and she said, what are you doing in Miami? And I told her, she's like, oh, I'm doing my non-dominant. Of course. So like everybody's connected through the house. So I can write with my dominant hand to my body and say, beautiful body, I see you're processing something today. I can feel something's going on in my right hand. I'm here. I'm listening. I would love to hear what's going on for you. And here's the key when you switch to the non-dominant hand. The key is you have to be able to get really quiet inside. And so I encourage people, there's a part of me that wants to say, you really need to become the person who is doing your work, who can meditate, who can get quiet, who can be the vessel to allow an answer to come. On the other hand, I want to say, just try it.
Right.
Don't let all that stuff get in the way. Just try it. Who knows? Maybe you'll get a really cool answer from your body. And you get quiet, take a deep breath, put the pen in your non-dominant hand, put that pen to paper, open your eyes, and let your hand move. And an answer comes. And it will usually surprise you. And it can be, anger. It could be jealousy. And you'd be thinking, but I never get angry. I'm not an angry person. Those people are usually the angriest, right? Or what am I jealous of? I'm not jealous of anything. And so, okay, right back to your body. What are you jealous of? What jealousy? I don't know what you're talking about. Again, allowing the answer. It can really surprise you. And then what? So now I know. So now I need the tools to process that emotion so that my body doesn't have to. It's the body's job to process emotions if we don't. It's built that way. This is a field called psychoneuroimmunology, and I'm sure psychoneuroimmunology. So psychology, the mind, neurology, the nervous system, okay, and immunology, the immune system, how they're all connected, right? So it's basically, a few quick examples. When I'm afraid, my immune system shuts off. Of course, when people are anxious, when people are stressed, that's when they're getting
How
sick.
far do you take it? Like as we're
What do you mean?
speaking, meaning this idea of the body being able to communicate what's going on. Sometimes there could be, like for example, as you're speaking, I somehow hurt my knee yesterday, and I'm not walking
Okay.
properly on my right foot. But I think it was like an injury from working out or something else, and then I aggravated afterwards. You would take something that's most likely quite physical in the sense that everything's physical, but in the sense that it happened from something external here versus a series of internal symptoms like you had. You would go that far with it? As the body
I would
having
say
something to communicate?
99% of the time. There are of course exceptions, but 99% of the time. Why would I say that? Because the body's processing, I'll put it this way. Everything is always both physical and metaphysical. So metaphysical could be emotional, it can be spiritual. There can be many levels of what's going on. So can we take your example?
Sure.
Can we go there? Okay, so this started yesterday. So tell me what happened.
So it didn't start yesterday.
Okay.
It's been going on for a few months, but very,
Okay.
very
Okay.
mild. And
Okay.
about 2 or 3 months ago, I was deadlifting in the gym, and I hurt myself like here on my lower back.
Okay.
And I was kind of out of commission for a couple of weeks, but I realized that I hurt myself because I was favoring my knee.
Okay.
Like it had originally started when I was favoring my knee.
Okay.
So it healed, and then I was very conscious that this don't get hurt. And
Okay.
just yesterday, I had someone here who's like a body worker, and I said, "Hey, can you work on my knee? It's bothering me just a little bit." And at the
Okay.
end of the session, it was bothering me a lot of it.
Okay. 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 So this is the right knee. Excuse me. So I'll explain like this. 100%, right? What we're doing physically matters. This is a
Right.
physical body. We're in a physical body. We have to take care of it. You guys can hear I'm a little congested, right? I have to take care of my body. From the moment I stepped foot in your house, the amount of emotion that came up, you cannot even fathom how much processing I've been doing in the last week, by the way. Okay, but you're hearing it. So I'm also, we're in a physical body. We have to
Right.
take care of it. So you were taking care of it. You're at the gym. Okay?
Right.
When there is something that needs to be worked through emotionally, okay, the body is gonna, and it's just time. For whatever reason, the body's like, I gotta get this out. It's gonna look for a vulnerability. So there's a reason that vulnerability happens, let's say, in the right knee versus the left.
Right.
That's the extent to which we take it in that kind of example. Does that make sense? So we would say, okay, interesting. It's the knee, okay, which is a lot about our direction and also our flexibility, right? It's
Right.
sort of obvious once you get into it. It can start to seem obvious. I also like to include Kabbalah. For some reason now I'm confusing if the right side is Hod or Netzach in the legs. Do you remember? And my husband would know, but I know he's outside with the baby. But like, let's say, for example, I want to say the right side is Netzach. Let's say that's what it is. Okay, so if the right side is Netzach, which is endurance and is victory, okay? So that's an exploration of, is there somewhere in my life that my body is like, and myself, my whole being is just like, I can't keep this too much, that we're going so far for so long, right? I kind of imagine like endurance. I'm imagining that marathon runner who's like, okay, when is the finish line?
Right.
And the body might be going like, does Eli have a finish line? Like we know he doesn't. We know he's continuing, but like, does he ever, like, is there a pause? Is there ever restoration, right? Can we have a break, or is it always go, 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 right?
Right.
And sometimes, this is the interesting part, it could also be the opposite, okay? So it could be, no, you
Someone
let's
not
waken
moving.
this up,
Right.
right? Let's awaken this. Like, you actually, I want you to be victorious here. I want you to believe in your own victory. And the body is like trying to wake us up to that. Like, no, you have this in you. So the body communicates in many different ways, and it's very nuanced. And that's why we have to have enough space to really allow a true answer, and then turn around and go, can I process that emotion? And what does my body need? And I think the greatest example that people can use for themselves to just like start doing this on a day-to-day basis is like, if I was talking, like if I was speaking to a kid, how would I have that conversation? So my child comes home and tells me like, oh, this is bothering me. Like, okay, what do you need? Right? So your knee tells you, oh, this is bothering me. So whether we understand what's behind it or not, okay, what do you need right now? And it might say, I need some downtime. It might say, let's go for a run. And that might surprise you. I had my body tell me once, I was feeling so fatigued, and my body was like, go for a run. I'm like, what? But I'm exhausted. Go for a run. I'm like, okay, and I don't like to run. I'm like, okay, fine. Went for the run. I felt incredible. What was it? I had to call a practitioner. I called my emotion code practitioner. I was like, what just happened? Like, why do I feel so much better? And he was like, because you had all this stuff storing up in your adrenals, and of course your body was sluggish. Now, someone with MS is going to go, okay, that's MS. It's a symptom.
Right.
I'm just going to be fatigued. And guess what? The next day and the next day, the next day. They would never think to go for a run. Are you kidding? That would be so against the disease, right? From a medical model. And how many years, by the way, did I not work out? Did I not use my physical body? Because I don't want to aggravate the disease.
Right.
So, but it's the opposite. My body went for a run. I pumped all of that out of my adrenals. I got a reset. Like, oh, I could breathe again. Isn't that interesting? But I had to listen and be like, that's nuts. Are you sure? I'm like, okay, I'm trusting you. There's also, that's the relationship, right? You have to really rebuild a relationship. So that's the other thing I had to do in my healing journey, just to go back to that. I really had to rebuild a relationship. I had to realize my body wasn't against me, wasn't trying to hurt me. I had to learn to trust it. It had to learn to trust me, that I wasn't going to keep pushing because I'm really good at pushing. It was a journey. It was really a journey.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
So today, this is what you teach
Yeah.
your clients?
Yeah.
And you mentioned that you're licensed as a marriage and family therapist, but you don't.
I don't
really
practice as a
that.
therapist anymore, but I am a marriage and family therapist. And
So how did that come about that you went
yeah.
in that direction and decided not to stay there?
Yeah, look, a lot of that, just as with many therapists, was to try to heal myself, in terms of emotions in my own family. And I saw how much my diagnosis changed my family, affected my family. I saw how much having support would have helped a lot. We didn't have a lot of support, like psychologically, therapeutically, and that was really hard on me growing up. It was really hard.
When you say you didn't have support, you mean?
Like, it's like my parents didn't go to a therapist. Like, it's like we're facing this intense traumatic experience, and no one was getting help.
Right.
And I'm the kid who needs the physical help.
Did you have siblings? Do you have siblings?
I have a younger brother.
Got it.
Yeah. And it hit him really hard.
For sure.
It affects the whole family, and it was almost like we were all kind of like white knuckling it. And then here, yes, I was so grateful for everything, so I was inspiring others, but I didn't know it at the time. So much of that was also a coping mechanism.
Right.
I was really trying to self-soothe. I was trying to it was a way to not even see so much of the suffering itself. Like, I was suffering, and my family was suffering, and I was like, oh, poster child, it's a trip. I didn't know any of that. Like, I was so unaware of like what was going on there. And even becoming a therapist was part of that, by the way. It's like, okay, I know how much I needed therapy. I know how much my family needed therapy. We didn't. Maybe I would be the person to help another family. So that's how I went into it. And even then, let me tell you, when you graduate with a master's in therapy, and even after internship, like, it is so shocking and terrifying how little skills you have. Like, there is like, and when it comes to trauma, my first internship was with Holocaust survivors. Like, what do you say? Like, what? And you don't get trauma informed training in your master's program. And I went to one of the best programs in the country. what are you supposed to say? How are you supposed to guide a Holocaust survivor? And my clients were so happy. Meaning, like, they would bring me the greatest gifts. They were so grateful. They were so sad when I left. And I always wondered, why? Like, what are we doing? And that's why I literally had to step back from the field of therapy and go, something is not aligning here. And it was only in my own journey that I realized there's such deeper trauma healing tools that we need. And talk therapy is a great tool for re-traumatizing us. Really, really phenomenal at that. And it's also really good when you have when you're also clearing trauma. And there's
What do you mean by that?
What I mean by clearing trauma?
No, what do you mean it's also really good when
It can be really,
when you, the therapist, are also clearing trauma?
to be doing talk therapy, to be as a client, to go to talk therapy, can be really helpful as long as the trauma is also being cleared. If you're
Right.
just talking and still in it, then no. You need to be, if there is trauma, which I would
Everyone has
say
trauma,
today
yeah.
pretty much everyone does, right? To be with a therapist who's not trauma informed and doesn't have tangible tools for clearing trauma, then it's like you just keep talking about it, and the brain does not know that that's not happening again right now. Your body doesn't know it's not happening again.
Right.
So you just keep reliving it. Even when you might think, oh, I feel so much better. That session was so good. Notice though, have you changed? Has your life changed? Is there space for you to become new? Or do those triggers still come up? Do those reactions still come up? Because all of that's coming back to a trauma point, right? So anyways, I mean, I could
So
talk about that for a long time.
So recognizing this, we've
Excuse me.
it's been a discussion that's come up a few times on this podcast about kind of the difference between therapy and coaching, and some people have taken strong positions against therapy for sure.
Yeah.
Some people have taken strong positions against people doing it without proper training.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a
And
serious
then
problem.
I have my own journey with it. Today, a therapist's degree is irrelevant to me one way or the other.
Right.
What's relevant is whether they're doing their own healing. Like, as long as they're on that path and their information and knowledge comes from the hard knocks of life and experience, then it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
If they have a degree, great. So they have some tools and
Right.
additional tools, beautiful.
Right.
But without the work, it's kind of all irrelevant to me.
I really, like, that's soothing to me. Like, that soothes my nervous system to hear you say that. That's the biggest thing. And when I graduated, I would tell people, because I was shocked. I saw my graduating class, and unfortunately some of them might hear this and they're going to hear what I think. I would refer to, maybe two of them I would trust referring to. The others, I'm like, what? You guys go do your work. Like, this is terrifying. It's the blind leading the blind. Like, oh my gosh. So I would tell people, like, you got to shop around, and you should always ask a therapist. And any practitioner, like, tell me about your own process. Who do you go to? What does your team look like? I've got a team. Like, I have a team. I want to know, like, what's coming up and when and how. And I know, like, that's what allows me to be effective with a client, because I'm doing my work. Like,
Right.
100%. But like, who would I be if I'm like trying to, okay, no, be brave, face all this trauma in yourself. Like, I have to know what that courage takes every day. So 100%, I agree with you. It's essential. It's essential.
Got it. Okay, so talk to me about a typical client that may come to you, what they're struggling with. I understand chronic illness, but maybe if you can give a couple of examples and go a little deeper into the type of maybe transformations that you've seen, or the work that was necessary in order to get over certain illnesses. Obviously, I understand privacy, so feel free.
Yeah.
Feel free to change details as necessary.
Yeah, I'll change some details.
Genders, ages.
Yeah, I'll change some details. I'll share. I'm like, it's hard to choose. So there's some really, really, really powerful stories. I'm trying to think of like one to start from. I'll start with a woman that called me I think it's about 1.5 years ago now, maybe almost 2 years. And that's its own trippy story. Like she kept getting like signs and messages, but we'd never met. And I don't know, somehow like she kept getting signals. She was supposed to call me. Okay. So it was also interesting because when she first called, she was like, okay, I'm ready to work with you. And I was like, who are you? Like, how do you even know what I do? What do you need? What's going on? Anyways, so she had several diagnoses. Endometriosis, so lots of hormonal stuff going on, all allergic to, I mean, you name it, like the list of things she could eat on one hand, okay? Extremely limited of what she could eat. Told, don't have any more children. That is severely dangerous. Don't do it. What else? She had so many. She was so physically. What's even the word? I don't think I've ever seen that level of limitation. She couldn't hold her own baby. She had a baby at the time,
right.
A 2-year-old. She couldn't even hold her own child, and she couldn't even like walk up the stairs in her own home. Okay, so her parents, her children were pretty much used to her, like, not functioning. The kids just sort of accepted this. This is mom, and through our work together, this woman has like so incredibly really become the picture of health. I mean, she goes jogging, and she just had a baby. And it was profound because she just kept saying, like, it's amazing to know she said, I've never known the difference. I never knew what pregnancy symptoms were. This was profound. She said, I never knew what pregnancy symptoms were because I was always so sick. Like, I couldn't tell, what is it? Is
right.
it that, because I can't eat anything as it is? And she's like, it feels so good to just know that, oh, this is just from pregnancy. She was like, it was so beautiful to watch her journey because it was like new for her. It was new life for her. And it was really profound to see her process. So, I mean, there's a lot I could say, but I think a few key like highlights in her process. The biggest was really self-love and owning herself.
Yeah.
And they kind of came together for her. Like, she'd never considered, like, I am lovable. It's like, no, I'm a wife, and that's all I'm supposed to do, right? Like, I'm a wife and a mom, and like I'm just supposed to take care of everybody else all the time.
Right.
Like, so she learned to love herself, and this is a core part of my program, because why would the body heal for someone who doesn't love themselves? If I don't, like, my body, our cells are resonating where we are resonating. Our cells literally change with our words, with our thoughts. If I'm vibrating love, our cells will change accordingly. If I'm living in, self-aggrandizement all the time, that's where my cells are at, right? Of course, it's just going to create disease. How could my
right.
organs function, right? So first was that, and that was so freeing to her. I remember her saying, I don't even care if I physically get better. This is just amazing. I remember that day. She was just like, I'm my own person. I'm my own person. I have an identity. I have needs and I have desires, and I'm starting to express them. And I remember her husband being like, I had no idea she had this huge personality. She had no idea. Wow. Right? And that was like so profound. And so I remember her saying that. And when people say that, I just giggle, because I'm like, oh yeah, that person is about to blast off. Like you think it's amazing now. When someone can say, I don't even care if I get the physical healing, I'm just so happy to have come this far. I'm so happy to feel excited about life because I love me. Then the body just jumps right on board, and it did. Like, she just took off. And then there was one thing holding back. Excuse me.
Take your time.
There was like one thing that I don't remember what the symptom was, but there was a symptom that, she still couldn't eat a lot. She was still super limited, and she was like, okay, I'll just like accept that. And I was like, but why? Like, you've come so far. Let's see. It's telling us that there's something we haven't uncovered. And I don't believe you have to turn over every stone. We just have to find the stone. You know, it's like a table. Table has 4 legs. Okay. So let's say that table is propping up all of these symptoms. Okay. So it's the trauma. Okay. And it's 4 legs. I only have to take down 1 leg for everything to fall off. Okay. Table falls. So I don't know which leg, right? So anyways, some childhood stuff came up for her, and she was like, it can't be that. Why not? Because I'm never going to forgive that. It's not an option. And I was like, okay, so it has to be that. Like, you can't say that, but I also can't force someone. That's always like the hardest, but the most beautiful, I think, part of being a practitioner is like, it's someone's journey. It's their journey, and it's sacred. And even when someone chooses not to go somewhere, that's still sacred. Like, you still have to just like, okay, that's where they're at right now, and that's okay. And it's not my job to get them there. It's like, I'm here to hold space and to help you become you, but and to know when to push. And I said to her, let's just try. It's
kind of the importance of not messing with someone's free will.
Yes, 100%. And that's all. That's also healing. They have to know they have free will.
Right.
So many people, so many children they grew up never feeling they could make their own choice for themselves, And by the way, also, so many clients want me to just do it for them. Just tell them, like, no, you have to choose if you want to do it. I can't force you, So I said to her, okay, you know what? You don't have to forgive. You don't have to forgive. I want to just try. Let's just try a practice. And so one day we tried this practice. It's called The Journey, and it was created by Brandon Bays. I don't know if you've heard of her.
No.
Super profound woman who healed herself from a basketball-sized tumor.
Wow.
She wrote this book called The Journey, and she created this modality. She said, let's try it. And the end, if you make it to the end, because it's a deep it takes hours, you make it to the end, there's an opportunity for forgiveness. Still don't have to do it, okay? And she went right there, and she went for it. She went for it. I didn't even say it. And you get to choose, who do you want to bring to this moment? And she chose the person that she said, I'm never going to forgive. She brought her there. Like, this was all her choice. And when she came out of that process, she said to me, she's like, I can't believe I went from saying, I'm never going to forgive, to, I want to. I thought, okay, fine, if I like really have to, maybe I could figure out how to. She's like, I kept telling myself, like, maybe if Kaley really says it's really important, I'll figure this out. I wanted to. She's like, I can't believe I wanted to. When we can find the part of us that's soul, which is what we're ultimately all seeking, and it's what ultimately like our body wants for us, like, everything's possible. Like, then I don't want to walk around holding on to that. I'd rather forgive,
Right.
But when I don't even know what it means to feel my own soul, then I'm just operating from up here. I'm operating from a program. My humanness, my ego, all of that's in the way. And no matter how many times I myself have felt the expansiveness of my soul, yeah, my human still has those moments. Like, I struggle with that a lot. I'm struggling in forgiveness right now. Like, But anyways, so going back to her, that was it. She eats whatever she wants now.
Wow.
It's like, it's so cool, because it's just like, I couldn't have known. I couldn't have told you in the beginning, okay, go do the journey and that will clear it. A lot of times I tell people, like, definitely go do the journey. It's amazing. And there are journey practitioners all over, by the way, just for those listening, like,
right.
We could change someone's life right now. So yeah, so that's one example.
The Journey with Brandon Bays.
Brandon Bays, yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Bays
if you
is
look
spelled?
up the journey method, you
Got
can look up practitioners.
Got it. Super cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Got it. So, got it.
Is that a good example?
It's a very good example. Can you? I realized as you were sharing that you didn't go that deep into your own process of what you had to let go of. So if you're comfortable talking about some of that.
Sure, absolutely. I feel like I'm in a new version of it right now. Honestly, I told you, your house. It's yeah.
You're referring to the House of More.
Yeah, the House of More.
Yeah.
Yeah, since I got there,
Yeah, we're gonna call it soon the House of Enough.
What? The House of Enough.
The House
yes,
of Enough.
Amen. Yeah. There were a few things for me. On the surface, I had to really let go of parts of my identity that were creating illness. I was addicted to accomplishment. I was addicted to, the word is not fame, but I'm going to use that word. Like, I really quickly became the poster child for MS, and so I was getting a lot of attention for it, and I had to really let that go, and had to acknowledge, like, it's not worth being in pain for my body. And that was terrifying, because then I had no sense of identity. I really didn't know who I was. It was like, when I went through the healing process, I realized, like, oh my God, like, who am I without MS? Who's Kaley? Like, I literally didn't know. It was my whole life. And I mentioned to you, I didn't have memories from before I was 12. Part of my healing journey was I had to start realizing what happened there, what was going on there. So I'll share about that in a moment. But I had to really face this sense that my whole identity was external. It was completely external. And that's terrifying. Like, because then, like, then who are you? If you don't get the next speaking gig, if you don't raise the next 100K or like whatever it is, then what are you going on? You know, if that's what I was getting all my praise for, and that's what I was seeing myself as. I didn't know that, but it happens.
Right.
You just start to see yourself as that. Oh, everybody else is going, oh, she's so amazing. Oh, she's so inspiring. And you just start to tell yourself that. I'm inspiring, not just because I'm inspiring because of illness, because of my story, because of how hard it is. I'm inspiring because of how hard I work, because, oh, despite how sick I am, I'm also raising money and I'm also getting on the stage. Maybe it's inspiring that I just actually stayed home that day, you know? And by the way, I canceled our first interview because I wasn't feeling up to it.
Got it.
Right? So, like, I would have never done that in the past. Never. I would have powered through it. I would have put my body through it. That's not like that. Why would you do that? So I had to really, I had to break down to a nothing sense of self. I went into nothing, which is really, 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 really terrifying. It's really terrifying. It's a very painful part of the healing journey. I have a few clients in that right now, and it's so painful to watch them. Like, I know how hard it is, but I know you get to the other side. It's so painful because you go, but I'm leaving all this behind, but I don't know for what. Like, I don't know where I'm going yet.
Right.
I know what's on the other side is, like, it's so incredible. It's a sense of just being. I don't have to show up anyway. I can just show up. I can be messy. I can make mistakes. And it's okay. I'm still okay. You know, I can bomb this interview. Okay. I'm still okay. You know, does that make sense in a weird way? So that was part of it. That was part of the, like, deeper healing.
What they call in the psychedelic world an ego death.
Massive ego death.
But a slow one.
Yeah.
While you're fully...
I cannot imagine doing that in a few-hour period, but on the other hand, it might be a lot easier.
It might be a lot easier, yeah.
Yeah, a lot less suffering. Massive ego death.
I mean, time doesn't quite exist, so it can feel like it's going on for a long time, but yeah, it's certainly...
Yeah, quicker.
Easier.
Right.
I think.
Right. Yeah. That's interesting. That's really interesting to put it that way. I'm just feeling into, like, how deep to go on the other parts, or how vulnerable. I'll put it this way. As a child, I didn't feel seen at all. Like, I'm not saying, like, I wasn't seen enough. It's like there was so much I needed, emotionally, spiritually, and I asked for it. Most kids don't have that. I actually asked for it. When I did the journey myself, a memory came up right after. You go through the process, and I actually couldn't even make it through the process. I couldn't get through the process. And I just kept hitting a wall. I couldn't get through the process, fine. And one night, after trying again to get through it, couldn't get through it, like an hour later, all these memories started coming, and I've literally never talked about this publicly, but I think it's time, because this week, like, a lot of this came up for me in a new way. It came up for me in a new way, but this memory came up. I saw this little hand writing a letter, and that was me writing a letter, and I was like, I knew the words. I was like, how do I know what she's writing? And I had totally blocked this, but I would write letters like expressing exactly what I needed and how I needed it, like as like a 7-8-year-old. I was born with this wisdom. Like, I just knew things. I knew things. And now I get it. Now I'm like highly intuitive. It's crazy things. It's how I met my husband. Like, I just knew I had to get on a plane. Okay, I got on a plane. Like, weird things happen now, and they're not so weird anymore. But
Right.
So I had this wisdom as a young child. And by the way, I think all of us have this in us. Mm-hmm. Mine was like super online, really fast, and I expressed it. And like, no one ever heard me. No, I was totally dismissed as like, whatever, it's a kid, like, what does she know? Like, of course this kid thinks she knows better, whatever. And it was just ignored. And so that just left me feeling like more, it was so extremely painful to have so much knowledge and so much wisdom. I could watch things around me and see, oh, if this person just did this a little bit differently, like, their whole life would change. Oh, if this child just had like that, let's say, like, especially in school, I would see this, like fellow students who maybe struggled, maybe had like different abilities, right? Different learning abilities. I could see what they needed. And I could say, if you just like gave it to him in this way, like, he can do it. What does this kid know? So I had this like massive, and of course it was most of my family. It was most of my family, with my brother, with my parents. And it's like terrifying to say that out loud. Wow. I'm self-soothing, going like, if I tell them like they have to delete this, I can do that.
You can.
Yeah, I know I can do that. That's what's allowing me to self-soothe. Wow, my whole nervous system is reacting. I'm just gonna breathe. I'm gonna tap while I do this. What's weird is, like, I also know I'm safe, and I also know there's a reason I'm supposed to share it. So I also know it's like coming up on purpose, but I can also acknowledge that for myself, it's the first time sharing it publicly, is like, yeah, of course my body's now like super hot. I'm just telling my nervous system we're safe. That's what tapping does. It calms down the fight or flight response. I'm like, I want to run. That's my response. I am flight. I will escape. I'm already like thinking about the exit. I'm like, it's okay. We're okay. To see all of that, to see the healing that I could have, or that I wanted to bring, right? Even to my parents' marriage. And to be like so dismissed was so deeply painful. It was so deeply painful to not be seen. And then guess what? I woke up one day, and even though the first symptom wasn't blindness, for all intents and purposes, I couldn't see. I had to keep my eyes closed.
Right.
So I wasn't being seen. So I suddenly couldn't see. And everybody had to have all eyes on me. My body helped out. Like, my body got me seen. Does that make sense? My body heard me saying, like, how come they don't listen? How come they're not paying attention to me? How come they're not getting it?
Right.
And they're like, okay, let me help her. My body goes, okay, let me help her. Kaley has needs, right? Kaley has needs. Let's help. And wow, I can't believe I just said all that. And it worked. I got a lot of care and attention all of a sudden, right? I was listened to. Remember what I told you about the doctors, where they went to talk to my parents, and I was like, no, I'm right here. And my parents go, yeah, actually, you should probably listen to her. I wanted that for so long, for my parents to say, yeah, you should probably listen to her. I wanted them to listen to me.
Right.
Right? So this is just one nuance that I processed this week on a much deeper level than I ever have. It's like, so that's why it's like also what's fresh. But when we talk about the mind body, even as I talk about what that little girl went through, that was a trauma for a child. And I'm sweating right now. My whole nervous system is activated. This is the mind body, right? This is the connection. My nervous system has to react that way to something I'm afraid of. So what's the fear? And by the way, our words for emotions are so limited. Like, fear is like a big word, but there's probably 1,000 definitions, right, of fear. There's a little girl right now that's having a reaction that that if she now says something, right, that it's going to be ignored.
Right.
And here I'm sharing it. And as I'm sharing with you, of course, my mind is going, oh my God, what are my parents going to say about that? Right? So it's like a parallel process.
Right.
It's all happening right now. Thanks for listening, Ellie.
No, this is very interesting for me. There's a lot of stuff that's very relevant to where I'm at. This interview is much more, I don't know, it's an interview discussion, is much more applicable today than had we done it on Thursday when it was originally scheduled. Not only because my knee got hurt, but just with everything. There's a lot of stuff that's quite relevant. But as someone who shared my story a lot and gotten a lot of family reactions, mostly positive in the moment.
Yeah, I'm really
mostly positive out loud, but over time recognizing that, yes, there is a strong, there's a price to pay, but there's a reality for the other.
Yes.
For the other person as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I want to say with that, my parents are amazing humans. Like, I mean, you met my mom. Like, it's when you have really done your healing, like real, true, deep healing, you can really come to that place. It's like the client I told you, she was like, oh, I wanted to forgive. It's like you suddenly realize, like, why did she want to forgive? Because she saw the divine in that being, right? And my parents are incredible people. I would never want someone to think, like, why did they just dismiss her? Why did they... I'm a parent now. You know how many mistakes I make on a daily basis? I'm constantly telling my son, who's 5 months, I'm like, I'm sorry. You should have done that differently. I'm sorry, okay? I should have said it differently. I should have this. It's like, okay, like, they did the best they could with the tools they had. And in the healing world, like, that's almost cliche. We always say that about our parents. Like, did they do the best? No. They should have taken parenting classes. Really, I really feel that. I'm like,
right.
like, no, they probably could have done a lot more. Oh, wait, yeah, I called my mom on that. Oh, yeah, they did actually try to do a parenting course. Oh, okay, right? Like, you know, like, and then even if they had tried to do all these things, at the end of the day, look at who I am right now. Look at the lives that I'm changing. This was all supposed to unfold. I chose them on a spiritual level, right? We talked about it also. The body's also processing spiritually. On a spiritual level, I had to arrive at this point. So it's like, part of it is for sure self-soothing, and part of it is I want to just be real and say, my parents are amazing people. So when they hear this, it's like, they didn't do something wrong. They didn't do something wrong. And thank God I am a person who has healed and who is healing in new ways now. I just need to say that.
Yeah, I think those who've gone and done the deep work understand that we're always missing the mark. It's a question by how much, right? So saying it about parents is not meant to be offensive. It's not said in that way at all. It's just, hey,
right. Yeah, it's
my body needed a certain level of cleanliness of water, let's say, right? And then a spiritual counterpart of that. And it wasn't always available. But no one could have made it always available.
Right.
Right. The moment where...
It's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, the moment the umbilical cord is cut, like we're missing something. Right. There's going to be a gap between...
Exactly. And it's supposed to be that way.
Yes.
It's supposed to be that way. Like, we wouldn't, I forget who said this to me this week, but we wouldn't have incarnated if if we
was meant to be
wanted
perfect.
everything to be perfect.
I don't remember if it was a John Bradshaw book I was reading recently or a Harville Hendricks book, but he spoke about how parents will kind of miss the mark in two ways. And one is being kind of too much, overbearing, and the other is being like a form of abandonment, right? Smothering versus abandonment. And those are super fine lines, and what works for one doesn't necessarily work for the other. And then there can be moments where that moment was smothering. Hey, I didn't want that level of attention around my friends.
Right.
You know, that was smothering. But the next day, that
Yes.
same reaction misses the mark and feels like an abandonment because the friends are not around. So,
Right.
yeah, there's always
Right.
some of that. But
Yeah, it can't be perfect, and it's not supposed to be.
right, I've kind of taken the path of sharing my story because it's my story, and doing the best to ensure that no one is hurt unnecessarily. But at the end of the day, my story is my story.
Yeah.
And that comes with the rights to say it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I'm very inspired by that. I want to say my husband and I were talking on the way here, and that was before everything hit me at the House of Moore. But we were speaking on the way here that like I was, you know, and basically he and I both kind of turned to each other and goes, oh, he just says it.
what?
He just says it. We're talking about you. We're like,
Yeah.
oh, he just says it. And we were both reflecting on that like the way that you own that. And it was a wordless interaction. We both said, oh, he just says it. And then we both kind of like sat with that. And then we kind of looked at each other and went like, okay. And I sat with that a lot. Like I'm really inspired by that. I'm really inspired by that. And I think the world needs more of us to be able to just own that. And I want to get better at that, honestly, to just own it.
Right.
It's my story. I own the rights to it.
Right.
Like what you just said.
Yeah.
You said it.
Yeah, 100%. No, those
Yeah.
words. I know the right to say it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
It's true, and we can be sensitive to other people there. And I mean, everyone in my life has had comments, from siblings to parents to my wife, and I'm sure my kids will someday. When I first,
Oh, wow. Wow.
I did a TED talk on porn addiction, and let's say I did it in February time, and there was no communication, right? I think it was February 2019. So I went there and I do the talk,
wow. Yeah.
and then you don't hear anything. And a couple of months in, I send an email saying, hey, just wondering what this process is like in terms of getting posted and stuff like that. And said, yeah, we're working through it. At some point it'll get done. And it's clear it's, you know, you're in a machine. You're in the TED world. And one day I went on Google and I figured, you know what, it does come out. If I type in my name, that's the first thing that would show up. So I went into Google. It was probably the second time I had done it. The first time it didn't come up. And the second time I Googled my name and boom, I see the TED Talk. And the first thought was like, damn, I screwed up my kid's life. At the time I had one son.
Wow.
At the time I had one son. This was my daughter. No, my wife was pregnant with our daughter. I had one son. He was maybe a year old, if even that. And I was like, oh shoot, he's going to get bullied horribly. By the time he gets to middle school or high school, oh, your dad's the porn guy.
What a thought. Oh my gosh.
And I sat with that for a little bit, but then I said, okay, so, you know, porn addiction today, as of 2019, was viewed very differently than, say, alcohol addiction.
Yeah.
Right? If a child in school today said, hey, my dad, you know, was a recovered alcoholic or recovered drug addict, I doubt there would be much shame attached to that.
Right.
If anything, I see people wear their kind of medallions as a badge of honor.
Yeah.
You know, I see people at Shabbos tables. Oh no, I don't drink wine. Right?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't drink. None for me.
Right.
But so I said maybe I can be part of changing that, and that was a goal. It was like a goal I set, but certainly an intention that by the time my kids, and at this point children, are old enough for their children to recognize the subject that I chose to very publicly speak about, and I can't do anything about it. I can't remove the talk. I have no rights to that. Ted has rights to that.
Wow.
By the time that happens, then hopefully the world is in a much different place, and it's my job. I guess I owe it to them to to do something about that, to make it more understandable that there are many, many people addicted to this, and there's no shame. There's a lot of pride for those who don't even have to overcome it. Just pride for those who choose to face it, own it, and do something about it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Amen. And it takes courage. It takes courage, and it's like I said, it's so inspiring. But that courage is, it's like, it's showing up for our own journey. And when we show up in that way, and we just, okay, I'm just going to do this. I'm going to put one foot in front of the other. It's like the whole world transforms. The whole world transforms. It's as you're saying, okay, by the time they're at that age, it's going to be different. You know, and I really believe, you know, I don't know how much Gula gets talked about on this podcast.
you can start the trend.
Okay, awesome. Oh, wow. Okay, that's big. You know, in terms of Geula, to move into the world in a rectified state, to get there, to literally the work now is for each of us to keep showing up in the way you just described. This is what's aligned for me. This is my truth. I'm going to show up, and I'm going to trust that the world is literally going to transform to meet me there, and it will. It's happening. It's happening, right? You're seeing it. I mean, it's pretty much happened. It's like, it was totally different discussion today.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a completely different conversation today. So that to me is Geula. That to me is Geula. And we all have to just keep showing up. Like, that's really what it is.
Right. Yeah, just to kind of, I guess, match you in terms of, like, putting some of the stuff out there. The reason why it's important what you're sharing, or relevant, I should say. There are possibly many reasons why it's important, but the reason why it's relevant to me is that the last couple of weeks I've been kind of asking myself, like, did I push it a little bit too far? Did I take on just a little bit too much, right? Between the podcast and the house and 3 young kids and a business and just the life. And for a while it felt like, okay, keep it coming. I have, you know, I felt like I have the emotional, financial, and other resources for this. And the last couple of weeks, it's been like, whoa, what did I do? Did I just did I stretch myself a little bit further than I can handle? And like a certain exhaustion has set in. So very relevant. The
Did you hear your sentence?
What?
Did I take it? Can I? Oh,
take it apart. Yeah.
No, but now I forgot it. I think you said, can I really do this, or can I keep going? You said something like that made me think endurance.
Oh, okay, in terms of that,
so
yeah.
You made me
no,
think
that's
endurance.
what I was saying when you were talking about that. Yeah.
So let's say that we're right, that the right leg is.
We can look it up.
Victory.
You can look it up. ChatGPT. I know.
Yeah.
Tyler doesn't like ChatGPT anymore.
Right or left Kabbalah. Well, I'm going to play it both ways for you. So let's say that it's the right. So it's just like it's a breakdown. It's like it's too much, right? But let's say that the left leg is the victory, right? That means, let's say, and you're feeling it on the right. So the right is going, we need both. We need balance. And the right is hod. The right hod is translated as splendor, but splendor is also, it's also an ability to kind of, it's a way of being in splendor, in God's wonder, which is more being. Right? It's a balance. It's a balance.
Right.
I move forward, but I can do it in a balanced way. So it could also be that weakness that's coming up, right? That vulnerability that happens that's happening in the right knee is because Hod isn't getting used enough. Maybe left is victory, and it's right. So when we go look this up afterwards, right? Or maybe you're gonna tell us. No, that's right leg. That's on the arms. Check on legs. Yeah, you got to check legs. Excuse me.
I think it would be Netzach.
Leg Kabbalah. I think we're probably right, but you could see how you could play it either way. That even if it's the left side.
But then aren't we using kind of circular reasoning if you do it that way?
Only because you said endurance.
Right.
No, it is and it isn't. Because the legs are, anyways, endurance is going to come into the picture. It's not using circular reasoning, meaning it's legs will we're dealing with legs, netzach will come into the picture one way or the other. And where am I too much? Where am I less? And so, which leg needs more care, more attention? Which part of me is needing more care and attention? Does that make more sense?
Sure. Yeah.
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 She's right. The right leg is eternity, endurance, and victory.
Okay. Endurance.
Yeah.
Okay. I really appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah. When you said it, it made sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
I felt it was right as you were saying it. I felt it was right because it matched
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
like the thought process that had been going through my head was like,
Right.
okay.
And so the beauty, if we can go there for a second,
Yeah.
just because I think this will really help people listening, if anybody's living with symptoms, the beauty of now you having that knowledge doesn't mean you have to stop. Okay, we're not expecting you to stop the podcast. Don't worry, right? It doesn't mean you have to stop, but it means your body is reflecting what you were already feeling. You are already feeling it. And by the time, by the way, we feel it, probably that feeling was growing for a long time, right? We're not always on top of it right away. So the beauty of that is then you can first have a conversation with your body and say, hey, okay, thanks. I see you were trying to make me aware of this. I appreciate that. I get it now. I'll work on that now. You don't have to do that for me. You don't have to make me aware of it. I'm aware of it, right? And then you can start to think of ways like, how can I balance it more that I can still do what I want that feels more honoring, which might mean go more into, you don't necessarily have to go less into endurance. You might be able to go more into splendor, right? Okay. Can I be in the moment to moment experience of, okay, I'm going fast. There's a lot happening. How can I also appreciate this exact moment of it? Does that make sense?
It does.
That's one option. There are many ways you have so much more like space now around this just from this awareness. And by the way, going back to the journaling, that writing back and forth with your body, you could even ask your leg, like, do you have ideas? What suggestions do you have? And your body has so much wisdom that it might remind you, hey, that project over there, so not aligned for you. And be like, oh, I was kind of not sure, and then the body will go, yeah, it's not aligned. We're not wanting it. And you're like, okay, so that's the thing. And then everything just eases.
Right.
Right? It's kind of, so you could go back to that too. Anyways, we could go for a while, but.
No, I get it.
That's, yeah.
But just so I understand the right hand, left hand writing. So what you do is you write a question with your right hand, right? So
and then the non-dominant is you get
the answer. And then it can become a dialogue conversation with.
Yeah, and you want it to be a dialogue, right? You want to express your gratitude for it being in dialogue with you and bringing this to your awareness. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fun stuff. It's really fun. I think it's really fun.
Yeah, it's all very interesting, all connected. And I've had, funny when you mentioned about identity. So, I mean, a lot of my journey, a lot of this journey has come through my work with, when I say this journey, like the journey that's expressing itself on the podcast and the House of More has been, has come about through psychedelic experiences, possibly specifically ayahuasca, and in several experiences, I came in not feeling well. So twice I did it specifically because I wasn't feeling well, and it gave me a lot of explanations in terms of what was going on. And I think I did a total of 3 where I came in not feeling well. One, it just happened to be, and I said, okay, it's, I feel good enough to do it. I'll go and do it. And I didn't understand like the profoundness of the experience and information I would get from it.
Wow.
And then the other 2, I came in for that purpose, and by the end I was feeling great.
That's so interesting.
And it came in. One of the things, it was interesting, but one of it was, I think it was like early days of the podcast. You start putting things out there, and now people don't message me as much about it. Like this podcast, you're more likely to get messages than I am. I mean, the people who are seeing it aren't going to send me a message every single time. But early on, there were a lot of messages. And some was criticism and some was praise, right?
Yeah.
And you would think the criticism would be more damaging than the praise. But on the medicine, it was very clear that it's not the case at all, because criticism is like a thorn, right? So you want to pull it out. You want to de-identify with that thing.
Whoa.
But the metaphor I had for praise was like honey. You take it and you start smearing it all over your body, and that still, it becomes an identification with that thing. So when you were talking about the identity of
Yeah.
something or other. I don't remember.
Disease.
What?
The disease
Oh, the identity
and
of
the fame
disease.
and everything that came with
Right.
it.
So you start getting positive feedback, and
Yeah.
the next thing you're taking the disease and smearing it in with the honey, and it's very, very sticky.
Oh.
And I went through this experience under the medicine where I felt like the almost glue or honey was melting off of my body. Just take all this thing so I can de-identify from
my
it.
gosh.
So
What a metaphor.
yeah, it was very.
Whoa. That gives me,
Interesting.
like, that's really what it is. Oh my gosh. Wow. Wow.
Okay, so no one praise me, please.
Well, yeah.
If you have anything to say, make it nasty.
Yeah.
At least
Tell-
I'll be able
tell
to.
us what you hated about
yeah,
it.
at
What
least
we
I'll be
did
able to
wrong.
get over that easier.
That's funny.
So,
Wow.
all right, I
Wow.
think we've had a conversation. Do you feel like there's anything unfinished? Anything you want to add? Anything?
Well,
you
I
want
brought you something.
Okay,
I
beautiful.
would have led with that, but we just jumped right in. I just wanted to give this to you. I brought you a book that I co-authored with coaches from all over the world called Transforming Your Life.
Beautiful.
And I know you have plenty to inspire you, plenty. And you're doing your healing. But, maybe it'll be a good contribution to the House of More. So I wanted to leave this personally with you because your story has
so much.
inspired me so much.
So
So
transform
thank
your
you.
life. 22 incredible stories showing the strength of the human spirit. So
Yeah.
you're one of the 22.
Yeah, I'm in there.
Neat.
Yeah.
Oh, I see you right here.
Yeah. That's convenient that you turned right to that.
It took a few turns, but now I lost it. Oh no, I got it.
It's like, I think 222, something
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that, which worked out conveniently.
Determined to heal. Kaley Z.
Yeah.
I see it. Very neat.
Yeah. So I wanted to give that to you. If there's anything else that, this feels very, very complete. And I think the reason that it feels so complete, Ellie, is because something new came. Something really new and powerful came from this conversation. I do so many podcast interviews, and yeah, you kind of get used to it. But this got much more personal, and I'm really grateful to you for holding the space for that, and making it such a safe space here and at the House of More for me to even get in touch with how much more was still there. We do need to change the name of the house.
Cast a spell on people as they walk in.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? I will share one thing. You just shared about your journeys with ayahuasca, and I want people to also know that healing can come through so many paths. I've never done plant medicine, not for any particular reason. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Unless it also becomes an addiction, right? But I know people have had life-changing processes. But, I've also healed without ever experiencing
Sure.
that. And just, hopefully people will find their own path, find their own way, and to know that you were put here to do that.
Yes.
Like, that's why you're here.
Yeah, these are all tools. Ayahuasca in itself is not addictive. Ayahuasca in itself is not addictive like other things are, but it could be misused certainly, like all tools. They can be. Not only it can, but it sometimes is. But yeah, I don't speak about it from a point of recommendation. But those who feel it, meaning those who feel like they're ready for it and they need that, and each one of these bring a different level of healing. But I continue to work with plant medicines hasn't stopped me from working with almost everything else, other kinds of therapies and breath work and more traditional modalities. We will not edit it out. It's an important part of the conversation. Wow. Yeah. Next time, don't say anything negative about ayahuasca. It won't happen to you.
Apparently. Oh my gosh. I don't even know what I look like now.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm like, what just happened? What just triggered this?
Ask your
Go
body.
ahead, continue.
We'll bring a pen and paper.
Yeah, you know,
Profound indeed. Perfect. Yeah.
yeah.
Once you gather yourself, I actually do want to talk for a moment about kind of your experience at the House of More, because it's really in the last maybe week or two that we've done what you're doing, whereas someone comes down. I mean, you hung out at the House of More, you did some events there, you came and joined the podcast. Some are doing both. I mean, we've had people come as a guest and do an event there, but here you stayed at the home. The home has a number of bedrooms.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been amazing.
So you kind of got to experience it in.
Can I get some hot water? Sorry.
So you came to the home, you experienced it in that way. You also led a breath work with your husband.
Yeah.
He led a cold plunge of breakfast in the morning. You led a women's inspiration, like a lunch and learn or something. Or lunch. So just talk about that that experience. And then we had the opportunity for you guys to be on the podcast. So talk about what that was like.
Yeah. The house is so special. It's amazing. And it's a vision that we have an interesting vision of also like just our home is very much a healing space, but it's been so special to be there. First of all, I want to thank you for the opportunity. My husband and I do facilitate together a lot breath work. This was very cool for us to, I travel all the time to do this kind of work. This was a really fun opportunity for us to work together, and to see him working one day and I'm working the next day, and see all the men come, and the energy of like all these guys showing up and they're encouraging each other on the cold plunge and then learning together. It was such cool, vibrant energy. The women I connected with it was so beautiful, and I'm already in touch with all of them. And I was so blown away by the conversation. I purposely, at one point during lunch, like I walked inside, I gotta grab something. And I kind of slowly walked back because I just wanted to hear their conversation.
Maybe I got it now. Okay, go ahead.
I just wanted to hear their conversation before I started my talk. I wanted to kind of take the temperature, get the sense. Of course, healing was the topic, right? They were all talking about where they're at in their process, different experiences that they've had. I was blown away by that. I was like, wait, there's a space where everybody, I'm like, where were you people?
You're saying where everyone who's coming there?
The women who came for lunch, what I was just like eavesdropping before I started, they were all having conversation about their own healing journeys and their own process and where they're at in the process.
Right.
And I was so inspired by that, and I just felt to myself like, this is like my tribe, It's so beautiful what we've created, and it was really, and then not only, so we came in to do the interviews, and then also to facilitate, and in addition to that, there's been so much happening in the house. Every day has been something, and one of the things that has been most incredible to me, Ellie, is that everyone that is part of your team, everyone that you surround yourself by, are so in alignment with themselves. Like, they're really in their role. I mean, this is Geula. Like, each person totally owns their role. And you don't see that in many organizations. You don't even see that in some of like the most world-renowned coaches, self-help gurus. Like, you don't see that all of their staff are also in that sense, but like they own it. I mean, literally down to your housekeeper. Like this woman takes it upon herself to like make sure everybody is having like a fully comfortable experience, that the home feels like their home. So that your home feels like their home, right? So like when the baby fell asleep, she goes and grabs a bunch of cushions and lays them all down so that like I don't have to move. Like he can just come and rest and relax. And like, it just, my mom's been taking care of the baby so much. She's making sure that they have everything they need out, you know, on the grass next to the water. Like, it's, everyone on your team is in that space. And I'm not sure. First of all, I did ask them about it. Full disclosure. I was going to say, like, I have my theories. I don't know. I'm going to share my theories because I asked them straight up. I asked Shmuley and who else did I ask? Anyways, and the feedback was, it comes from the top. Everyone was just like, when you have Eli, he's doing his work, so as long he's doing his work, so it makes you want to show up in that way. When he's in his role, we're in our role, and he knows everything that's going on. He actually is aware of everything that's going on. And at the same time, you also have the space to do what you're good at. And that was just amazing to me that, like, that was the reflection. Because I was like, how do you guys all own it? You're all so, it was like, Shmuley's like, it's a perfect job for him. Like, it's, like, it's just incredible to see that. And it's beautiful to see that. It's inspiring to see that. And the Rebbe talks about this, that each person, the Lubavitcher Rebbe talks about this, you know, each of us has our own role. You don't take like a shoemaker, you know, and have them work on a car. It's a complete waste of that person's gift. A teacher, right. Someone who's born to be a teacher needs to be a teacher. Like, they need to be a teacher. It no matter what, they need to be a teacher. And you know what? Even though it might be a less paying job and da-da-da, which it shouldn't be, but let's say that it is, you know, I think that's like the most important job. The divine will make it all work because they're in their role.
The only thing I'll say about it,
yeah,
and I'll make sure to remove any of the stickiness that feels like praise.
Oh yeah, sorry.
But no, the only thing I'll say, which is interesting,
I'll find something that they criticize you about.
What? Okay. So the only thing I'll say, which is neat, is that none of them have been hired or came about through a traditional hiring process. Not a single one.
I'm not really surprised by that at all.
Yeah, each one, they were the only candidate for the role. Like, there was no interview process. There was no job that was kind of put out there. It was just.
I'm not surprised. Tyler's a perfect example.
Yeah, just kind of showed up at the right time, and I wasn't even the one who asked about it. Tyler's father-in-law is someone I've worked with for a number of years, and he knew I was doing a podcast, and he said, "Hey, my son-in-law's available for this. Why don't you meet?" And at the time, I thought a podcast took, I don't know, I didn't know what it took, so I thought it was very part-time.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I don't know that I'm really ready for someone, but you know, it's Sunday afternoon. Tyler's here. Tyler's kept busy, so
yeah. Thank you, Tyler.
yeah. So, that's what I would say, is that it didn't go through the traditional ways at all of hiring or finding or selecting someone. They've just kind of come through. But the reason I brought it up, the question is that for me, I don't see it as my house. It's not my house. This is not like this. It's taking me on a project. I'm not, like, it's doing something to me more than I'm doing something to it. This all came about very, very naturally. Not a single step was planned in advance of the of the second. The home wasn't bought as a healing home. It was when everything was moving in that direction. I did more to resist it than I did to facilitate it. Right.
Oh, that's fascinating.
So, yeah. It was, so, hey, this is a little much to take on, but I've seen how it's kind of worked well with the podcast, worked well with the fact, a lot of healing centers don't necessarily have this, a lot of events may be in yoga studios or things like that. Like here, there are sleeping quarters. There are a couple of nearly 2 acres, the property. There's a lot of things that can happen there, and just seeing how the two work quite well together. It's like, hey, this is neat. That's what I've seen. What I've seen is it's kind of moving forward and then see something happen. Mm-hmm. I don't think I knew you were staying at the house when this was first put together. I don't know how that came about exactly.
It was very organic. I spoke to Tyler about the timeline, like the dates that we were coming in, and he said, we could put you up in a hotel, but let me talk to Esther and see if there's room in the house. And it hadn't occurred to me. I didn't know that.
Right.
I thought it was just like a space to come and facilitate. So I didn't know that. And I'm like, okay, is this because like they just, I was like, maybe they just want to save money. So maybe it's just like, maybe it's a really like small house. I don't know what's there. You know, I have no idea. And so I asked Esther straight out. I was like, would you stay there? And she was like, yes. If I had an option, I was like, okay, great, we'll stay there. And but we didn't know. And then I was like, I was like, but like we have the baby, and because Adam and I are going to be so busy the whole time, like we have my mom with us. Could you just let me know a hotel nearby, and my mom will stay at the hotel. And she was like, no. Let me call you back in a bit. She called me back. She's like, she can totally stay. It's absolutely fine. I'm like, what? That's nuts. A house where there's healing happening could be very dense and very intense and be very uncomfortable. You could easily not want to sleep. Most facilitators would not want to sleep there.
Right.
I'm that kind of person. I walk into a house where I'm like, okay, who just did what in here? Like, we need some sage, light a bunch of candles. I'm not comfortable. What did you guys just move? You know, it feels open. It feels safe. It feels there's such a sense of love. It's really, really so. First of all, there's a lot of clearing happening regularly, and I think that's great. Like there's just, I mean, I brought my own sage, but I didn't have to. I got there was palace, everything was there. We were fine. But the music, everything, it's being cleared. So it's been really beautiful. And by the way, it's just really convenient as a facilitator to be traveling and to not have to go back and forth is really, really nice. It takes, and even if I, thank God, baby, family, that's been a huge gift. So it's been really, by the way, you also gave us our first trip as a family.
Oh, neat.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
That's been really special. And baby had his first day at the beach today.
Oh, neat.
That was so special. So it's been beautiful. But, even if back when I was doing this as a single woman, it's not easy, the back and forth. So it's a beautiful model.
Yeah, like you said, it happened organically. It's not a model. It just happened. Right.
No, but now it will be. Other people should do it.
Yeah, at this point now it exists, and now others can build off of that. So thank you for pioneering that. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. I'm glad that you came for this conversation, and I'm sure it'll help many people. And
thank you.
I definitely got something.
Good.
From
Thank
it.
God. I'm so glad.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I really, really am so glad that we met.
Likewise.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Ellie.
And thanks for the gift.
Yeah.